Let's start with the word bank.
Okay.
You see, you know what you said, create, loot, share, and cry. Actually, there's a variant. You know, these days, because the NDC food soldiers are agitating, that they are suffering too much. You remember the women organizer in one of the regions confronted the national chairman of the NDC. That,
and you have to be quick with your presentation, because we have very limited time for this.
So the grassroots of the NDC themselves are really expressing the turmoil and the suffering they are going through. So now, it is not create, loot, share, and cry. It is create, loot, keep, and cry. That really is what is going on. Create, loot, keep, and cry. Because the grassroots are not getting anything. Now this commission, Samson, seems to be doing good work. And they seem to be doing diligent work. But you see, at the end of the day, you're looking at precedents. Do you know of what we call the Maputo report?
Yes, I do.
You have read it.
I've gone back to read it recently.
I'm very happy that you have, so you can bear me out. A lot of the things that are coming up before the Justice Jemefe Commission are issues that have been reported on in the Maputo reports.
But have not been actioned.
But
is that
have
what
not
you want
been
to say?
actioned. But have not been actioned. Those are the operative words. So all of this business about no contracts, no invoice, no bills, nothing. They are all in the Maputo report. But nothing has been done. And it's been gathering shelves. It's been gathering dust on the shelves.
Well, the latest that's happening has been speaking to the caterers who have been there, speaking to Horace Ankra, who is the chairman of events, grounds and logistics subcommittee. Also, they spoke to, earlier, they spoke to someone else.
You have a situation where one person goes there, gives testimony, the next day he comes out and says, oh, the testimony I gave was influenced by the conditions.
They spoke to Edu Asari.
Yes.
Kojo Edu Asari, who was chairman of the welfare, and he admitted to negligence on their part, but, you know, felt that they did the best that they could at the time, you know, for the country. Unfortunately, things have...
Well, it's up to the commission to make that judgment. But my main worry is that if you look at the Maputo thing, all of these things are reflected in that report. No action was... If action has been taken on Maputo, we may not have the repetition of it with Brazil. But it's just gathering dust. That's my main worry. And you look at some of the... You have... How can you go to the commission and then you go there and say, no, well, you know, I'm not happy because when I came here, I didn't like the atmosphere. How can that be a true reflection?
You're talking about
of the
Horace Ankra. He's saying that earlier in the day, he felt he had been a bit, you know, intimidated or not been allowed to speak. And he made it clear to the commission that it was the commission or the judge's attitude. Unfortunately, he was asked to withdraw that comment.
Yes.
This is how that came about. He was being asked about the cost of the food that the caterers took, and it was a question in respect of what had become, you know, circulated all around about the caterers submitting that they could cook the meal for the day for each person at 34 Ghana cedis, and the committee rather inflating that figure to $35. And he said he needed to explain. He wasn't given the opportunity to explain. He was sort of stifled, and he felt that was unfair. So the next day he sought to point out to the commissioner. But this is how he now explained it to the commissioner. I'm just referring to just a bit of what Horace Ankra had to say. In the end, what he sought to point out was that some of them presented these figures. Amber Food presented as much as $68. Moniz Foods presented $62. Kenke Boutique presented $10. That is 34 Ghana cedis. And the commission was using the 34 Ghana cedis to give the example. And he says, in the example of Kenke Boutique, that was chosen. Clearly, it would have been impossible to feed our supporters on 10 Ghana cedis a day. Even if you strike an average of the total charges of the caterers, we have $68, $62, then the $10, and so on. And he says the they decided and said, we negotiated, agreed, and paid the caterers what they did, which is significantly less than the figure. So they took that decision.
Samson,
okay.
Number one.
Yeah.
On the first day, Mr. Ankra was asked to explain. He gave the impression that he didn't know how that 34 cedis was changed to $34. And he sought to say that it might have been done at the ministry level.
That's right.
How could you say that you're not giving the chance to explain? Now, this document that you have, Kinker Boutique states clearly $10. And they put the cedi equivalent into brackets.
Yeah, 34 cedis.
You don't ask Kinker Boutique that show us how you can feed them on $10 for them to explain. You go and sit somewhere and you take the decision.
They're looking at what is realistic.
But speak to them.
The woman has presented something they feel is not realistic.
And you don't speak to the woman to tell her that her estimate is unreal. You go and take the decision that her estimate is unrealistic. And so you will pay her a higher amount of money. That's a difficulty.
Okay, James.
Now, when you also remember what another caterer said, I think Mrs. Kwashiga.
Amber Foods, yeah.
Amber, that's Mrs. Kwashiga. Yes. Look at what she also said. She gave a litany of procedures that totally...
How they decided to go and buy the ingredients themselves instead of giving it to the caterers to go
and she said that, no, she should go and buy the ingredients. They will go and pay. Now, the amount they paid will be deducted from her contract. Can you imagine? So they can tell her that, well, what you paid amounts to 11 cedis. So the balance we have for you is, say, one... I mean, all kinds of
Just
stuff.
the question some people are asking
but
is
the important thing is that this thing has happened, is the Maputo report wasn't implemented.
You've made that
same
point,
thing has been done.
What some are asking is this: how do you do this? They just can't understand. You invite someone to bring you quotations, and the person tells you that I can cook for your people per day. It will cost you 34 Ghana cedis, and then you tell the person that, look, what you are bringing is not realistic. Let me increase the amount for you. People say that is ridiculous. You don't determine for that person.
Well, Samson, listening to some of the witnesses, and of course, Elvis Ankra has had occasion to explain the circumstances which clearly warranted the position they took and the average they struck between the figures that was presented to them. But Samson, I want to start by commending the president for the bold initiative he made in setting up the commission in the first place. Remember when the president decided to set up this commission, the minority in parliament protested vehemently against the setting up of a presidential commission.
It is doing its work. These revelations are coming
now. Revelations are coming.
Something, it is not true.
It is not true. Nana, when you have your turn, please. But don't eat into my time.
The minority it's not true.
They wanted a parliamentary inquiry.
Yes. Don't be accurate to the facts.
Please. Don't eat into my time.
Okay, so can we move on? Can we move on? Nana, sorry. Can we move on?
We are giving the impression that the minority didn't want any investigation.
So they wanted a parliamentary inquiry.
Yes. I have the floor.
And these issues
and so you see, something, what is happening now...
Oh, now we've done it.
What is happening now is a demonstration of the president's commitment to ensure that all allegations which raises the slightest suspicion of corruption in public office is thoroughly investigated. That used not to be the case. They were in office, a number of allegations were raised, and the President Kufuor, when my good friend was a minister, they were shy to investigate. But Sammy, let me land on this. Let me land on this one.
You still have to land.
Let me land on this one. I, in my practice as a lawyer, I appeared several times before Justice Jamafe, and I can testify to the fact that that man is impartial. Let the committee do its work. When they come out with a report, and it appears that some of the witnesses were not treated fairly, the report will capture scene.
Okay.
But for now,
Kweku, you seem to have preempted this part of it, that the commissioners were being judgmental in the process, and you felt that was a bit unfair. Now someone has gone before them and pointed out to them that I think you judge me unfairly, and unfortunately he used the word, they said, what led to that? He said, your attitude, and then he was asked to retract.
Well, I thought it was a bold decision on the part of, is it Mr. Ankara?
Yes, Horace Ankara.
Go before the commission.
Without any relationship to a free Ankara.
Yes, I admire that courage of conviction that he had, and to go there and state his case on relative to this matter. I think that's good. It's a very admirable trait, and I would vote for him on that score. Beyond that, as I said, I have decided not to judge. But you see, something interesting. Much earlier, when the minister appeared, there was a video clip or coverage of the food people were treated to. You remember?
Right.
It was very impressive. Very, very impressive. Some impression management was really up there. The reality check came when the caterers appeared and gave evidence. And it was so murky. You know, no invoice, no receipts, nothing. I said, my goodness. So,
Amber Foods particularly, she was very
it was
angry
disappointing.
About that.
I felt so scandalized. So I said, oh, so this quality food that we saw on video was just the video impression management. The reality was different. This commission is a good, positive initiative, and we should all give our support to it. But there was one thing that happened, not very important, this thing about intimidation or people being forced to. Something, I was listening, I thought somebody, the chairman made a point about, oh, we are laymen or we are lay on some issue. And the witness said, oh, I'm as lay as you are on this matter. And he was forced to retract and indeed apologize. Do you recall that incident? I thought that was unnecessary, to be honest with you, because the guy was not suggesting that you are laymen aside. He was inputting on what the chairman had said relative to a particular issue. I said, well, me too, I'm as lay as you are. So that area, I think we should forget it.
Sorry, but I understand that Sani Diara, who is Director of Communications of the Ghana Football Association, is on the line quickly. Sani, thank you for joining us. We have very limited time. Can you confirm positively that Kwesi Appiah has been sacked?
Sacking is a harsh word. We would want to say that we've mutually parted ways.
Okay, he's been sacked. Terminated. That's it. The contract has been terminated.
We'll say that we've parted ways.
What is this?
You parted ways. Okay, thank you very much. But mutually, he's been sacked. Yes. Point blank, sacked. Now, this is the question we'd like you to react to. There are some who are accusing the GFA that this is a man, you just came from Brazil, you didn't wait for 48 hours, you renewed his contract. And just how many days after, you are sacking him, and now you are supposed to, according to his contract, you will have to cough up in excess of, is it $900,000? That's causing financial loss. What do you say?
Oh, that is not the point. Quickly, let me react to the first thing. That after the World Cup, we reposed confidence in him. And just as in life, and in many facets of football, anywhere in the world, things do change rapidly. Since the World Cup, we've played 2 matches, and we've had lots of issues since then. And judging on that basis, the reason why we decided to mutually agree to part ways.
Okay. Now, so your reasons, and the justification are based on 2 matches. Is that correct?
No, I'm saying that since then, up till now, it's been what, 3 months? Lots of things have happened. So it is on that basis that we decided.
It's not about his competence.
Well, lots of things would come into play, and key would have been, our thoughts that we needed somebody also to help, in moving the team forward in some direction. And it is one point that the coach had said clearly that he didn't move the idea, and we thought that the idea is the right place where we can move the team forward in the direction that the management of the team wants. And, there was a sticking point in that end, and it was the reason why we decided that we must part ways. On causing financial loss to the state, the amounts you've heard in the media have been overly blown out of proportion.
How much will he be entitled?
Per the contract that we signed with the coach, in lieu of notice, you'd have to pay him for 3 months. So that would not amount to the $800,000 or $900,000 you have had. It would, in our estimation, it would be somewhere for his 3 months salary, and that is why we've said that our lawyers will sit down with his lawyers next week to reach an agreement on it.
So about how much money are we talking about?
We expect it to be between 100 to about $150,000.
$100 to $150,000.
Yes.
I see, and that will be all. He will not be entitled to any other thing apart from the salary that ought to be paid him.
That is what we expect.
I see.
That is what we expect in 3 months' notice.
Okay.
This is what we expect that we pay. But we are also saying that it is subject to what our lawyers and his lawyers sit down to agree on.
Right, but in a normal labor relation, I would say that you should expect that it should be more than that, just not his salary, because you may have to pay some other monies for him. So it's over, it's done with, and then Milo is in. Is that?
I would not be able to put my hand on it and say cast iron is Milo. Milo came here last week to be interviewed as the technical advisor of the team. Now, we've scrapped that idea because that was not the reason why he came here. So we've opened applications for coaches across the world to apply, and they have 1 week to do so. If he fits the bill, or given those who have applied, if he applies and sits on top of it and becomes the best candidate available, so be it. If not, we'll look at, we'll consider all the applications we get and look at the best candidates available.
Okay. Finally, can you tell us why you couldn't have the patience at least to give him the notice that was required to avoid this kind of payments, especially at a time when there's an ongoing qualifiers and he's moving out around this time? Wouldn't that affect the process?
We don't think so. It's the reason why we've just given a week's notice for the coaches to take over. Yes, it is true that our qualifiers are only about 5 weeks, 4 weeks away, but we think that in that ample time we should find a coach that will stabilize the situation and move the team forward. We don't expect that there will be drastic changes in the squad. Probably it might be tactics or the way the coach approaches the game. But in the way football operates, you don't wait until things get out of hand before you take action.
I see.
Football is instantaneous.
Okay.
This is what decision we've taken.
Ibrahim Sani Dara, thank you very much for your time. He is the Director of Communications at the Ghana Football Association. Now, Kobe, you have the opportunity now. We have just a little bit of an extension on radio as well. So quickly tell us what your views are about the commission hearing, and then Coach Appiah.
Well, my views are very simple. I was telling Kweku on an aside that if Ghana had gone to the semi-final stage, we would not be talking about all these. We would have conveniently, it's not about having very little regard for who becomes a minister. That is not the point. Every situation calls for a different approach at handling it. You understand? You are talking about travel and leisure. Is that your field? If that is not your field, leave it to those who have the expertise. But you are leaving it to them on condition that you have the money to pay them for their services.
Right.
That's it.
So what do you say about Kwesi Appiah going?
Kwesi Appiah, unfortunate. But you see, I say Kwesi Appiah is a victim of the indisciplined behavior of the players.
Kweku?
Well, I'm not sure one can question the principle that the GFA has a right or authority to hire and fire. That's not it. But sequence of events are raising issues like post-World Cup, the confidence that was expressed in him.
He says he's a victim of the indiscipline, and some say that indiscipline should be looked at from the head, those who are in charge.
Where the management committee.
Exactly.
Yeah, those people are football relative. They are source of power. I think they were elected by Congress, isn't it? So. Yeah, the cure for perceived irresponsibility or mismanagement by the football officials will be cured. It will be found in the Congress. That's the way I see it. But as for the coach, it was they were entitled to do what they want to do. I only feel sorry for him. I even feel like crying.
Koku has been crying too many times this morning. Nana?
He's been affected by the crying and the comment. You see, unless we are told of some specific, unforgivable wrongdoing on the part of Kwesi Appiah.
His unwillingness to have an assistant, technical assistant. He just mentioned it. And they took the decision in after the last 2 matches. Competence.
But the competence in terms of the result, he got a draw and he got a win.
Right.
How does that show incompetence? He got a draw in the first match.
So you think he's been giving a raw deal?
I mean, in terms of the reasons, unless there are some other reasons that they don't want to make public. But otherwise, like you said, after the World Cup, you've just renewed the contract for the gentleman for 2 years. So whatever has happened within this short period. In this short period, what we know is that he played 2 matches. He's won 1, he's doing 1.
Correct.
So unless there are some reasons that we are not being told, it's difficult to understand what has happened.
You love football, don't you?
I do.
Yes.
It's unfortunate. Kwesi Appiah, as Kobe rightly put it, is a victim of indiscipline on the part of the playing body. Unfortunately, he happened to be their coach. We can't ask the players to resign.
But the GFA that is supervising the indiscipline.
Well,
so who rather should take...
Let me make a last telling point. You see, I kept saying, and he's reiterated the point that Kwesi Appiah is a victim of the indiscipline of the players.
We have 2 minutes. We are closing.
Let me tell you why. If you look at certain key players in the team, right? The Asians, the KP Boatens, and the Muntaris. This was their last World Cup. They wanted to play in this last World Cup, secure them their last contract as they fade into oblivion. Kwesi Appiah wanted to make an impact for Ghana. He wanted to use younger boys to play the World Cup so that Ghana gets the name. He gets the billing. That was the source of the conflict. That is the source of the conflict.
But
as long as
allowances.
No, the allowances are the periphery. They are the periphery.
In terms of performance,
these guys make more than 100,000.
In terms of performance or output, a team that he coached that played Germany the way they did, you wouldn't say it did bad.
That's what I'm saying.
Correct. James, you end on the point.
Well,
1 minute.
The point I was just trying to make is that if you consider the fact that the same Kwesi Appiah led us to defeat Egypt in the qualifier 6-0, he would not be right to say he is incompetent. So indiscipline is what has affected Kwesi Appiah. It's unfortunate. I wish him well in all his endeavors.
Okay.
Let's cry.
Koku says we should cry. Sorry, we are not crying.